All right. All right. I'm going to give that spiel all again. Just kidding. All right. This idea of you know so much with stuff that you've never seen. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so we can quickly take a look at this code sandbox, just so we have some idea what it is. And there are a lot of services like this, and this is one of the ones that we're going to be using inside of Web3. And what's nice about this, if I go into, oh heck, it's basically VS Code, GitHub Desktop, and Netlify all under one roof. Like, we're still going to use those services, but we're not going to have to download a local copy. And let me, sorry. All right, well, let me show you quickly, and this is for designers right there. Okay, and this is very much a design tool. So just like Figma is all online, if I take a look at the featured projects here, you'll see, and React is a framework that we're going to be using. Vue is a React equivalent. Okay, here's pure JavaScript, pure CSS Mario Kart, right? And I'm hitting A and D on my browser. I'm on my keyboard, and you can see, look at this is all in CSS. Right, and we can take a look at some of the other examples. Here's Vue. Vue is another framework. And what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to create sandbox. I'm going to go ahead and create a sandbox right now, just to show you. Look at all of this. This is essentially a boilerplate to do different projects. Svelte is one that is gaining a lot of ground right now. Look, V5 right here, same one that we did. Let's see some other ones on here. We're going to be using React. If you've heard of Node, it's all on here. Gatsby is going to be our CMS for next quarter. And to do all these things, right, I'm going to simply click on this first one here. This is all of the boilerplate. This is all the stuff that you need to make a React project. And at the end of this class, we're going to return to this. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to end with this. And you're going to look at this code and be like, I get this. I get parts of this, right? And once we learn the other parts, you'll be surprised how far you can extend this knowledge to not just make websites with interactive features, but make full-blown apps that you can install to your phones and to your devices and to your watch. And like eventually, I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead just a little bit here. It's hotly debated, right? But there's but GitHub has made a framework called Electron. And Electron basically says, hey, this knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that you're learning? You can make a Windows app. You can make a Mac app. Right? And I think it's very important, right? And also really interesting, and hopefully for you, like really exciting that, wow, you're taking this knowledge that you have, right? And you can make a desktop application that someone can install and run. And you would be surprised how many applications, see which one I have highlighted right here, right? You would be surprised how many applications, right, are underneath the hood, right? All the stuff that abstracted away. Like, do these applications look familiar to you at all? Right? Yes. Please tell me they look familiar to you. Right? VS Code, Slack, Figma, right? These are all applications you use all the time, right? And the basis of that is this stuff. We're extending this framework called Electron. And this is powerful stuff. If you would have told me, when I was started making my first websites, that I can take what I know about making a web page for myself and turn it into a Windows app or a Mac app or a Linux app, like, yeah, right. What far-fetched future is this? This is, you're telling me I can make an application with HTML as a foundation? Yes. That's awesome. That's really awesome, right? To get there, yes, it is complicated, to get there, yes, we have more build tools. And to get there, we're going to need this entire section right here called dependencies and external dependencies, right? And these aren't just other files. These are full-fledged frameworks that have a lot of interlocking pieces, right? And we're going to get lost in a little bit of the configuration, right? Which is what we're looking at right here, and the setup files, right? But we're already familiar with GitHub. We're already familiar with Netlify. Okay. And lastly, right, we're going to be able to code together, like collaboratively. And so I say this on the last class because I hope that this summer you poke around inside of Code Sandbox. I hope this summer that you continue on with me and like some examples, right? I'll have like, hey, try this out for this week, right? So that's where we're at with this. So I hope this is exciting to you. Like, it's more than just making something that you type a URL in to go see. Okay, all right, good, check with me. All right, so we can close up Code Sandbox, get you ready for Web 3. All right, very cool stuff. All right, let's take care of the pragmatic stuff. Okay, pragmatic stuff. First off, all right, 11:59 p.m. on June 11th. 11:59 p.m. on June 11th. All right, 11:59 p.m. on June 11th. Right, if you're falling behind on Codecademy and all your daily engagements, like get it done. Okay, we even took out one section. We took out objects from this. So get these 32 sections done. Right, if you want to work ahead, feel free to get it done for Web 3. Right, go ahead and finish the entire thing. So that's the first part. Right, if you're behind, get caught up. If your Google Doodle isn't fully functioning or isn't staged, or you want to just modify it, right, you have till 11:59 p.m. The last one we're going to do is the P5 forks, right? This is the one that we were looking at all of last week. Okay, so you're going to find some examples from here, right, or from CodePen, right, or from the generative design website that I showed you. And all of these examples go from like very basic, right, to middle, right, and to very advanced. Okay, and what I want you to do is just pick one example from these three great resources. So let's go ahead and pick something easy like this. Okay, so I would say, like, take this one, fork it, right, make a pen from this, right? So come in here, copy all the code, make a pen, fork it, and then provide me a link to this page. Provide me a link to the source, right? Show me where the source is. So find me the source, right? And then what I want you to do is create a forked pen from that source, modify the original source. Like, really have fun with this, right? Do what we did last week of, all right, I took this solution, and then in the text box, answer, how does this thing work, right? And you know how this thing works, right? You know how this thing works because really what this is just an application of Codecademy, your Codecademy tutorials. How does this thing work, right? Say like this is, right? This is a conditional here, right? And this conditional runs this function, right? And this function is inside of this scope. And if we don't have this scope, it won't loop through this array. Okay? And that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's just explain it in words how this thing works. Okay. And if you need help with that, right, go back to the previous lecture, right, when I broke down this, right? So we looked at this example. The same thing is I broke this down into 10 steps. Like, how does this thing work in 10 steps? Now, how many steps there are and how this thing works is up to you. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay? I just want you to pick an example, right, and describe to me how this thing works. Right? Another common example, right? So typically people will come into here. I've had students use this sound one, right? That plays a sound. I talked about the mic. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna allow my microphone, and every time I tap, right, you should see this thing. Whoops, running. Okay. Yes, allow. I don't want to yell, but this thing moves, right, depending upon how loud you yell into your microphone. So how does this thing run? What I want you to say is it has a plugin, right? It has this P5, right? That would be something that would be incorrect if you omitted this library. All right, check on your forked example. Good. All right, we're all aware. Chance, Josh, right, Matt. Okay. All right, so that's that. Okay, and those are the two things that are due. Right? 11:59 p.m. All right, there's that. All right, let's get into some coding. Go into the master or the professor pen. I'll leave that up for a second. Public APIs, dashboard. Too many tabs. All right. So where we're leaving off with Codecademy here is Codecademy under the JavaScript section here. We're going to dovetail into Web3. All right, so I spent the first half looking at the class, looking at the future of the class, right? I talked about all the stuff that we learned. Okay? Why do we need to learn programming, right? Designers, why do you need to learn programming? One of the reasons is this field that Brad Frost is one of the people who's coined this idea. If we're going to work in this digital medium, we need to understand, if we're going to work in the digital medium, we need to understand what it's based on, and it's based on code. We're going to build design systems. Those design systems need to be built on code. And if you've taken UX3 or Web3 with me, these ideas, one and the same. I don't know how many times I've started a lecture and they're like, no, this is UX3. No, this is Web3. I'm like, oh yeah, they're one and the same to me. Because if we can't make an idea a reality, what is it? It's just a screenshot, right? At worst, it's just a fantasy, right? It's this idea of, that'd be really great if that was real, right? And so we need to be able to do both, right? And if you're more on the development side, right, being able to have design skills will make your products better, and vice versa. Okay? And so you're going to see a lot of job postings with this front end design, right, or design engineer, right? And this is really, really what we're working towards. So this is why we're learning those coding skills. But I have to sell this less and less as the years go on, right? Before it was really like, I'm not doing this because I'm a designer. And to me, it was like, well, this is design, right? Find me a design program that doesn't, if you're going to design for the digital medium, you better be able to understand the digital medium, right? It's like being a graphic designer and never talking about paperweight, never pre-plotting a document, right? All right, I'm selling past the close. Okay, well, let's go make this real fast. So where we're ending off, okay, is we're going to get to this part about next class about promises and async await and requests. And all of our projects so far have been working with local data, right? All the stuff that we write. And so what I have right here is a public listing of all these APIs, right? An API is something you've been using. P5 has an API, right? JavaScript is, people build APIs off of JavaScript. And again, API is just application programming interface. And I don't even like saying that word. I don't even like saying API, right? It's how two different things talk to each other, right? How do you get two different things that talk to each other, right? And that's really been my best explanation. So here are all of the public APIs. Like you can go ahead and get the data, get the weather. You can go ahead and get stuff about music, right? You can hook into the Spotify API and make your own Spotify app. Yes, you can. With what you know right now, you could do that. Right? You can hook into all the Google services. Like there's lots of different things you can do. But here's some public ones. Yeah, you can get. So what we're going to take a look at is just jokes right now. We're just going to hook into some jokes, right? Really, really simple stuff. All right, and of course, since we're talking about programming, we're going to hook into programming jokes. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to clear out the professor pen for a second. Okay, and all right, is it working for y'all? I can't collapse this.
It's because you're not logged in as you.
I'm using containers. All right, thanks, Josh. Yes. Oh no, I'm just giving away all my passwords. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. All right. So first off, we're going to go ahead and set up our classes. All right. And we'll make this thing easy. And we're gonna, before we even get started with this, oh my goodness, I am breaking one of the first rules that I have you do in Web3. One of the first rules is data hygiene. All right, data hygiene. Check your data. Make sure your data is any good before you even start designing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull from another source. And in Web3, you actually get to be your own source. You get to pull from your own website. You get to have a CMS that you pull into a different application to run somewhere else. You want to have one single source of truth. I can't say this enough. A single source of content. Single source with multiple formats, right? Formats, mediums, devices, right? Whatever you like. Right? Car, refrigerator, watch, right? The rumored Apple glasses, which aren't coming out, by the way. Don't listen to the hype. All right, but you get what I'm saying, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and first check our source, and I'm gonna go ahead and take you to the website here. All right, so this is going to be our source of truth right here, and this is, whoops, I actually gave you the link to the API. Let's see here, official joke. Forgot the name of the website, Programming Jokes. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at here is this Programming Jokes API, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these jokes. Okay. And let's see here. Sorry, jokes. It's been a while, y'all. Joke of the day. All right, we're gonna get these programming. This isn't the API that I'm looking for. So what I did was I grabbed a random joke API, and I said, if you can work with one API, you can work with them all, right? But I forgot which one I actually grabbed it from. Sorry, y'all. I think, yeah, this is the one. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at these joke APIs. Okay. And they come down as this JSON object, right? So here's the setup and here's a punchline. What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? Right. One is really heavy. The other one is a lighter. Ha ha. Right. Why did the cookie cry? Because his mother was away for so long. Okay. When your dad drives past the graveyard, you know, it's a popular cemetery. Yep, it's just down to get in there. So basically, we're just grabbing these random jokes, right? Where do cows eat lunch? In the cafeteria. That's a funny joke. All right, what kind of shoes does the thief wear? Sneaker. Okay. What I'm doing right now is just refreshing these jokes, and notice that they have an ID attached to them. And in 10 minutes, we're going to be able to do this, right, and pull this data in. So if you take a look at the raw data, this is just an object, right? This is that one piece of your homework that I took out. Okay, and objects have a key. Key is the ID, and the value here is 216. Key is type, the value is general. Key is setup, and the actual joke, punchline, key, and the actual punchline. Okay, and we understand this idea of a key value pair, setup, punchline, and the data is coming in like this. And all we're gonna do is parse through that data and display it onto the page. And every time we refresh the page, we're gonna get a different joke. And so the one I looked for in particular was not just the general jokes, but I got the programming jokes. So it's somewhere in there. Okay. And you can not just get one joke, you can get a whole mess of jokes. Right. So this is no different than Spotify. You don't want one artist, you want all the artists. You don't want one playlist, you want all the songs in that playlist. And what I like to do in every single class, right? Remember in Web 1, we made the Web AR A-frame. Yes, nod your heads, yes. In Web 1, the last day, I said, you know, get ready. We're going to be able to do stuff like this, okay? And in Web 2, I like to do the same thing for Web 3. All right, so let's go ahead and make this thing happen. All right, so first off, we need our actual joke data. Okay, we're going to have the punchline and setup. That's all we're going to do, right? It's just going to have this punchline and the setup there. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in and dynamically replace the punchline and the setup. And the CSS, we're going to leave blank because that's where you shine. You can come in and style this any way you like. So we have a class of setup and a class of punchline. All right, so now the JavaScript part. Right. So we know that the data is working. We know that the data is coming in from somewhere, right? And what we're doing here is we're grabbing data from this source right here, okay? And what we're looking at is these three concepts. So what is happening right now is we're using the concepts 8, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Right? If we take these concepts, all the stuff that we didn't cover in this this quarter, like what else is left? Okay. And so I went and found just a random joke API, right? And we're going to use this as our source, right? This gives us a random 10 joke, right? Just loops through all these jokes. What kind of what music do plants listen to? Neptunes, haha. Okay. All right. So now we got that. Let's go ahead and now we're going to store these jokes. Okay. So all of our data is coming in. So let's go ahead and store our first joke. Right, and you're going to be surprised how quickly this goes, right? So let's write some pseudocode here, right? We're going to get joke, right? We're going to need to parse joke, right? And parse is like this stuff comes in as JSON, and we're going to need to make it into something that the data can understand. And 90% of the time, 90+% of the time, you're going to be working with JSON objects, right? When you get data back from somewhere. Right, JSON is a very popular key value store format. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to display the joke. So this is our code. Okay, and before I do any programming, right, I'm writing pseudocode, I'm sketching stuff out. I'm like, can I before I start typing, right? Because I have RSI issues, right? And also, it lets me. I like to spend as little time writing code as possible. I do. It's one of the things that I pride myself on. It's like I need to be able to figure this out in my brain. Otherwise, I'm just fighting with the browser. So, but we've been doing this all quarter. Okay? Like, get used to working in this way. It'll really help you out, right? Have a plan before we start. All right, let's go ahead and get the joke. Okay, to get the joke, we need to store the joke. So this is the data. So we just created a URL called data underscore URL. Or data URL, and it links it goes to that source. And now if we console.log this out, we can go ahead and console. I'm sorry, y'all. Can we go over like 10 minutes? Is that all right? Maybe I got a little bit too excited talking about Web3. All right, thanks, Matt. Okay, so if we go ahead and console.log data URL, it's like, look, this is just the URL to the API. What we want back, right, is not the URL to the API. We know the URL to the API. We just don't want to have to type this again. What we really want is the JSON object. We don't want what's in the URL bar. We want all the stuff right here. We want this stuff, right? We want this nice package of information, right, from this API. All right, that's where this stuff gets exciting. All right, so we're going to use, right, this function called fetch. Fetch is pretty straightforward, okay? But the concepts there are rather new, right? So where are we fetching our data from? This URL. But instead of, right, and so this is perfectly valid. We can come in here and just do this. Go ahead and fetch from here. But that's a lot of stuff to type. So instead, we're going to fetch from this URL right here, right? And fetch is a function, and the first argument here is just go fetch this. Fetch what? The content from there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go get that data. And then what we need to do with that data is wait to see that it actually return, right? So then fetch has another method, right, called .then. And believe it or not, right, and you're not going to, you can talk to any other people who've done this the old school way. This is the easiest way. Like, this used to be weeks of lecture about all the different ways and the server responses. And I look at this, and even though it's kind of hotly debated, it's so much easier than it used to be. Okay, and I can talk to you if you want to. All right. So so I'm fetch this data. Then what? Then do this to the data, right? Because right now what it's doing is it's still grabbing just the URL. I'm like, no, we wanted to turn that that data that we got back. And so that data we got back is called a response. Okay. Right, when we fetch something, we get it always returns what's called a promise, right? And it's under this concept of right here. Okay, so we're going to go get something, and async await is another way of getting content, right? Then like dynamically getting content, dynamically getting state. Are you logged in? Or another state, like are you in a state of confusion right now? You're in a state of boredom, right? And those are all things that what this is doing right here. And what we're going to get back is a promise. We get this promise that we are receiving data, right? We're basically, another way to think about promise is, did we get the data and is it clean and can we work with it? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And so that's what this is, right? This response is holding our promise. And so we're going to take our response and we're going to go, well, we need to convert it, right? We need to convert all of this because right now this is just in one string. This is in one, and if I can make my browser wider, it would be one string of text on one line infinitely. What we want to do is take that one string of text and turn it into something I can work with called JSON, right? Turn it into an object. So go from a string to an object, right? And you know from this, right? Here 8 is objects, and up here somewhere you learn how to work with strings. So we're going to take our same response and we're going to turn it into JSON, right? We have a method called .json to easily convert this. All right. So then we got that. And then we need to, right, again, then, we need to do something else. Then we need to actually store that data. It converted the data, but it didn't store the data. So this is going to get the data. This is going to parse the data. This line right here is basically saying, don't do anything else until we have successfully retrieved this data. And sometimes the internet is slow. Sometimes the data source doesn't exist anymore, right? And what you want to say to your users is, oh, we're still waiting for this data, right? Or the service is down, right? And you've gotten that sometimes. Like, oh, Google is slow, or, you play a song on Spotify, it doesn't play. Why? Because it couldn't retrieve that song from Spotify's API. Okay, right? We've all been there. You play a song, you're like, why isn't the song playing? Well, because it couldn't retrieve the song. All right, so then we're going to store this inside of data. Okay, and then we're going to do something with that data. Okay, and this is a method. Okay, we're going to write our own little method, right? Our own little function, excuse me, in this case, which is a function, right? To look at that data. And you're going to be surprised how easy this is. You go console.log, right? Where are we logging out? We're logging out the data we got back. So follow my cursor for a second, right? We're going to go get data from where? This location. All right, so fetch, go get the data from where? This location. All right, so fetch says, I got the data. And then what do we need to do to the data? We need to convert it to JSON. And then once we convert it to JSON, we have to store it somewhere. Well, we're going to store it into this variable here called data. Okay. And so if we console.log out data, watch how cool this is. Debug mode, pop open the console, take a look at this. There is our neatly formatted jokes, right? Boom. We're just, look at, this is all the stuff that we got back. Right now, this isn't on the official joke API anymore, right? We've successfully pulled that data down, okay, and are working with it locally. All right, with me on this part? Check. Let me know that you're there. This is big stuff, right? In 3 lines. 3 lines. This used to take way more lines. Right? This is 2 weeks of lecture about about Ajax requests and server codes, and we don't need to do all that stuff anymore because it was really, really hard. And now we have really, this is so much easier than it used to be. All right, so we went out, we got all this data, right? This is exciting, right? And so now what we want to do is display the data, right? So now we need to write our own function to actually display the data, and this is easy enough. Okay, we're going to write our function, and we're going to be cool kids about this and go display. We're going to write a function called display data. Okay, and we're going to use the cool kid arrow method. I should probably stop saying cool kids. Okay, right, and what are we going to pass into our function? Data. Right, we're going to pass in all that data that we just checked up there. Okay, and you're going to use the arrow function, right? right? We already know how to write a function. Why do we know how to write a function? Because it's the third section inside of Codecademy. Right, so we're gonna come right here, and we're just gonna make sure this thing works, right? We're gonna say console.log okay. Okay, we just wanna make sure that this console.log is okay. All right, so here we're going to leave that there. Okay, but now if we actually want to, so now we're talking about order of execution. Okay, so first we get the data, we're gonna parse the data, and at this part, what are we trying to do right here? What happens after, right, we get the data? We want to do what with it? More specific question. Where is display data gonna go? Outside of this scope of fetch, inside of the scope of fetch, in a separate JavaScript file altogether, like P5? Where are we going to run this function that we just made? In what scope are we going to put, right? Thanks Codecademy for teaching us about scope. And what scope, right, are we going to call this function to put stuff onto the screen? I kind of gave the answer away with the question marks.
Inside the scope.
Yeah, inside the scope of the fetch method. So this is awesome. Wait. You're telling me you're going to go out in one line, get the data, in one line, convert the data, and then in the next line, you're going to give me an option to show the data? Yeah. Oh, JavaScript. ES6. You know, one day we're going to do this the old school way. And you all are going to thank me. But another time, another class. All right. So then we're going to run our method here. All right. We're going to go ahead and just run our method of display data. Boom. That's it. Okay. And now that everything is running, I'm gonna go ahead and clear the console. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and trigger this to run again by just removing this. Okay, and our console should say okay. Okay, come on, CodePen. I gotta make a more significant change here for the CodePen to run again. All right, so what this is gonna here, just refresh it in here. We take a look at our console. Look, now it said okay. So now we know that everything is working. Okay, we can even put a console.log message up in here that says, you know, check, right? We could put a console.log a message in here that says, you know, got data, right? And then okay to show data. Okay. And if we run this again, we're going to see two console.log messages. Yes, I got the data and I'm okay to show data. And really, this is a process that I need you to, you know, use these methods. Like really be able to, otherwise then you're just going to fill in the blanks. Okay, make sure your order of execution is working and your functions are being called correctly and you're understanding scope. Okay. And it takes time to get to this, but work through this. All right, so I'm going to console.log out stuff to show because we know that's working. And that means we don't need to, just like in Web 1, I'm ruling out stuff. I don't need to look at line 20 and 24 because I know those are okay. I don't need to look at anything above this because I know that's okay, right? And what we're doing is we're isolating, right? Just like how scope works, right? We're isolating our focus. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and check our data. Okay, so we got our data. Now we're going to go and check our data. And if we take a look at our data here, our data is stored inside of a something. Oh, we need a console.log out the data. Okay, it's stored in an array, and we know how to access an array from Codecademy right here. Codecademy says to access an array on section 5, right? We need square brackets, refer to your textbook. Okay, so we're gonna get square brackets, and if we wanted to get the first data set, right, what are we gonna type? I just gave it away, 0.
0.
All right, thank you. All right, and the first console.log is gonna get all the data. And what I want you to do is see the difference, right, between, right, all the data, and I'm putting extra spaces in here just for readability here. And I should be good about putting my semicolons in. I'm coming around to y'all's way of thinking about semicolons, right? That they need to go away. Josh, what are you on team semicolon, or are you on team no semicolon?
I am on team semicolon.
Brian?
I appreciate the semicolons too much.
Oh, Chance?
I don't know. I kind of like them.
Wow, we are in the minority. All right. So yeah, no, it's shifting to where younger developers are saying like, I don't want to type these semicolons; they're not necessary. All right. I don't know. It's like a period in sentence to me. Anyway, all right. So the first console.log gives us all the jokes, right? And the next console.log just gives us the first joke. So what we're doing here is we're going down, we're traversing the tree of data, right? So give me all the jokes. We're going to the first ID, and notice they're the same, right? The punchline, the hip doctor, right? Setup, who's the coolest doctor in the hospital, right? And so instead of getting all of the data, we're just grabbing the first one. And if we wanted, right, the setup, right? All right, this is where I'm going to pause. What console.log message can I write to get the setup? And we know this from our homework, right? I want the setup. This resolves to the first joke. Oh, this is all the jokes. All right. What am I typing after these square brackets from your homework? How do I get the punchline? Traverse it. Traverse it. What is the name of the setup? How do I get the setup for the joke? What is the name of the key to get the setup for the joke? Straightforward question. We got 5 minutes. What is the name of the key that gives me the setup for the joke? I am computer. I am computer. What is the name of the key that gives me the setup for the joke?
Setup.
Setup. This isn't a trick question, y'all, right? And we know from Learn JavaScript Online, right? I mean, from Codecademy, that to access data inside. So we're inside of this first array, and we want the content inside of that first array, right? And if it's an object, we can go dot setup. And if we want the punchline, we're going to do what? Dot punchline. Okay, just to work ahead here. And for brevity's sake, okay, we're going to go ahead and save this and take a look at these two and work through this, right? So the first console.log, all the jokes. Next console.log, first joke, right? Next console.log, just the punchline. The next, setup. The next console.log, just the punchline. Yeah. And so do we want to display everything? No, we just want to display one joke. And what we're doing right here is essential to Web3, right? Of making sure that we can manually parse this, right? Like we can logically go through this data ourselves before we ask the browser to. All right, so I'm gonna comment that out, right? And those lines are important, right? Those lines look, if you can't properly get the data yourself, right? How can you ask the browser to? Now it's the easy part. Now we just get to put the content on the page. Right, so document.query selector, right? All stuff that we know. Okay, and if we want to show the setup, we're going to go query for dot setup. And from previous classes, we know that we're going to use this property called text content. Okay, and again, right, if we took all of that and we console.log this, we just say, well, what is this? Right. And again, this should return what? What is the text content? I'm going to give extra spaces, right? What is the text content of dot setup? Well, it should say, wow, Right? It should say setup. Right? That is the text content of .setup is setup. Okay. Okay. So we're filtering this on down. So we're going to go ahead and console.log this out. I think I spelled something wrong here. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Text content. Right. And we refresh this. Right. There it is. Setup. And if I replace this to, all right, now go get me the class of punchline. Right. It's all I should say is punchline. Right. And if I came in here and mashed on my keyboard and changed all this, the text content is different now. The text content is this. And the easiest part about your homework, right, was this idea when you started learning about variables, right, and reassigning variables. Now we're just going to reassign the variables. Now that we know that that works. Okay, we're going to grab this thing. Okay, we're going to go, hey, just change this to content. So the setup now is going to be what? We're going to reassign what's on the left to what's on the right. And what's on the right should be data.setup, because we know that's our first thing. And then we know we need the punchline, and that's our next thing. Right? And what we're doing is just replacing with what's on the left and what's on the right. And what is challenging about JavaScript is how verbose it is. It's just like a Colin lecture. There's a lot of words, a lot of talking, a lot of yapping, right? But if you can begin to just like parse all of that, and begin to understand, oh, all I'm doing is a assignment, right? Programming assignment, right? Which is saying what was on the left, make it on what's on the right. And what is on the right? Well, all the stuff that I parsed from where? Here. Okay. And if we hit save on this, if I don't have any errors, we can run this. Okay, type network error attention data is undefined. Let's see here. What? Data passing data. Let's see here. Where is my error, y'all? Let's find it. No, I'm good. Oh, duh. Line 17, right? This is asking for data. Am I passing into the data? Nope, right? I'm not passing in the argument there. So make sure that you're passing in your data, because when you're displaying data, what data? This data. All right, now we're going to hit save, and we're going to take a look at this, right? And there we go. And every time you refresh your page, congratulations, you've made a dynamic application. How is this dynamic? Well, because there's someone who's adding jokes to this, right? And what you don't want to do, designers, is get a phone call in the middle of the night and say, hey, can you update the jokes on the website? We're like, you can update the jokes. I'm going to take care of actually making the website. And that's what we're trying to do. All right, good there. We didn't have time to get to this, but this is the meme API, right? This is just another meme API. And we were going to quickly take a look at React, but maybe that was going to confuse things. But this is an application. And this is one of the applications that we're going to be able to build, right? Notice how this is reactive, right? It's reacting to changes. Okay. And we take a look at this, and there's more about this that you understand than not. And all the way back to Web 1, what is this HTML element called meme generator? It doesn't exist. And like I told you in Web 1, it was like, we're going to be able to make our own elements. And what did I do? I went into the elements panel and go, and everyone said, ha, ha, funny. I was like, no, if I want to make a calling component, I can. And if I want to make a meme generator component, I can, because semantically, if I'm making a calendar app, I want to have a component called calendar, if I can spell calendar, right? This is about, right? I want to have a component called month, and I want to have a component called day, and those make a lot more sense than div, correct? With me? Check. Okay, div, right? All right, we know what to do. We get to see into the future. Good luck on finals. Is anybody graduating this year or this spring? Show of hands. Let me know. Anybody graduating? Nope. Okay. All right. Good luck on finals. I'll be around. This is our last lecture. I'll be around if you need any help. I'm going to set a general office hours time, so you don't have to get up so early to get to office hours. Thank you for